Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Affected by Altitude. It is the 2025 Draft Recap episode. I am your host, Skyler Timmons, joined here, once again, it's Evan Lang.
Hello, everybody who may or may not be listening to this special live edition of Affected by Altitude, the big, huge 2025 Draft Recap.
Yeah, we'll buy a little time here and see who all is, give people time to show up here on the live part of it. But, yeah, Evan, it's been an interesting week since we last spoke back on Sunday after the draft. Had the All-Star Game festivities. It's been a whirlwind of a week so far.
Yeah, the National League All-Stars winning for just the second time in the last 12 attempts. That's fun. We got to see the first ever home run derby for quote-unquote extra innings in an All-Star game. I thought it was great. Like, I wouldn't want to see it in a regular season game or something like that. But for something like the All-Star game, I thought it was fantastic. Because, like, let's be honest, it's an exhibition game that doesn't really have any stakes other than pride. And, you know, getting these guys to play extra innings or anything like that, I think is just going to make everybody miserable. But no, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was nice to see Hunter Goodman, even though the broadcast barely acknowledged that he existed. He had his name mentioned twice, and that is it.
Sometimes it's all you need.
I would have liked a little bit more. I would have liked them to have not cut into his first at bat and only at bat, like halfway through it, because they went long with commercials. But
you can forgive him because it's Hunter Goodman playing for the Colorado Rockies, so nobody cares.
I care. What about me? What about
It
my
means you're a nobody.
It's true, but you shouldn't say it.
Speaking of nobodies, I did see Superman, Evan. Since we've last spoken, I did see the Superman.
I promise that we are not going to segue every 30 seconds from a Superman bit. But what did you think?
It was super and it involved a man.
Truer words have never been spoken.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, like I said, I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, lots of good stuff. Not much more can be said. But, Evan, let's go ahead and start rolling into this. We've got the pleasantries out of the way. Who knows? People can watch this back later, or we'll see if anybody shows up while we're going. But, Evan, after the draft, let's kind of give an overview here, first of all, of what the Rockies did overall in the draft. That'll be the purpose of this episode. We'll try to just run down each pick. Some we may talk a little bit more than others, because, hey, that's just the nature of a draft. There's 20 picks, 20-plus guys getting selected by the organization, and trying to pull up here what the Rockies had. So they selected 21 players in total. In total, they selected 14 pitchers, 3 infielders, 2 outfielders, and 2 catchers. They had only 1 high school selection, and the other 20 picks coming from the collegiate ranks.
Yeah, not very surprised with the overall makeup of the draft. The Rockies and most teams are always going to be very pitcher heavy. You know, it's always a numbers game with pitchers. You need the most of them on your roster, and they're one of the hardest positions to develop. So the Rockies picking 14 pitchers, not really surprising, but it really wasn't until the second day of the draft that they really went on a tear in terms of pitchers. First 10 picks pretty evenly distributed between position players and pitchers, and then them only drafting 1 high school player. Not surprising. The Rockies have really shied away from drafting high school players, who are, of course, much bigger development projects, take more time, take more resources, in terms in preference for guys that are more quote unquote closer to big league ready. Lots of college guys. The oldest guy that they picked in this draft will be 24 years old in just about 2 weeks here. And the youngest guy is 18 years old, and almost everybody in between is 20, 21 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So And that's kind of the thing with all teams nowadays. They're taking the route of, well, let's take more of a sure thing, a guy who can get up here quickly. And that is something that the Rockies mentioned as well. Marguston mentioning to Thomas Harding, like, or at least recognizing that they're going to go for these guys that could move quickly, could be reinforcements sooner rather than later. I think that's the approach all teams are doing, and especially the Angels, who are ready to probably their guy's going to be starting on Friday probably at this point.
Yeah, he'll be ready to go right away. Now, it's tough because I think especially with the way that the minor leagues ended up getting contracted, you have less stages of development. I think it made it harder to draft and develop high school players. Yeah. And a lot of high schoolers are, potentially not going to want to go at the very end of the draft to a team. They're going to want to serve out their college commitment. Maybe they make a little NIL money and work to get drafted higher up where they're going to receive a bigger signing bonus. And the slot value is just so much higher. I mean, I saw somebody post on the Purple comment section. It's like, people wonder why a draft pick would sign with the Colorado Rockies. Then you look at Ethan Holiday and go, well, there's 8.77 million reasons why.
Yeah. Plus, that's a good segue here, Evan. We can start rolling into the draft here with the number 4 overall pick, Rocky's first pick of the draft, and we talked a lot more about him in our most recent episode of Effective by Altitude, episode 171, that you can go find for initial reactions. So we don't have to spend as much time maybe on him, Evan. But overall, I think what the nice thing with Ethan Holiday going to the Rockies is it seems like everybody's pretty happy about that just scenario, both media pundits as well as Ethan Holiday seems pretty jazzed about it, and of course the Rockies are over the moon about being able to pick up Holiday.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anybody go, oh man, I wish we had drafted someone else.
Yeah,
pretty much everybody's going, this is a good pick, and there's a lot riding on this pick. This is the kid who's essentially going to be the future face of the franchise with the name brand recognition more so than any other top prospect the Rockies have had in a long time. Of even your most casual Rockies fans are probably going to know who Matt Holliday was.
Mm-hmm.
Still is technically, but for this, it's going to be a big deal, and it really is going to be critical for the Rockies to develop him right. And thankfully, they're going to have some help in that because, there's a pretty high chance that Matt Holliday is going to be around the organization like he was for his other son, Jackson, and the Baltimore Orioles as Ethan is coming up through the minor leagues.
Yeah. They've got that nice resource, and, a friend of the show, Patrick Lyons, also mentioning, that they had talked to Matt Holliday. He's like, yeah, whatever, like the organization, however much or how little they want me involved, I'm there. I'm game for it, which is nice to hear. Like, I think in this Rockies history where like some of their best players, there's kind of some animosity between the two, especially ones that have been traded away. Matt Holliday has maintained a good relationship with the organization. They love the Rockies. They're more than happy to come back. He would come back and do anything they asked. And so, he has a little bit more incentive now with his son in the organization. So there's that nice connection. And at the end of the day, Evan, they're just getting a really good player with a good future ahead of him.
Yeah.
So,
and he's not, of course, a slam dunk, because there's no such thing as a slam dunk prospect in baseball, save for your absolutely generational, this kid's probably going to be a Hall of Famer talent. And, it's way too early for that for Ethan Holiday. But he's about as slam dunk for the Rockies as it could get. The consensus number 1 draft prospect per MLB pipeline, the name brand recognition, his incredible senior season with Stillwater High School, where he hit 6'11", 743, 1,295 in his senior year, which that's not even batting practice numbers. That's just like cartoon and video game numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he struggled a little bit in showcases as he's been working on some mechanical tweaks and other adjustments, but his skill set will play, and he's probably the closest thing to a true 5-tool player the Rockies have had in quite some time.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, oh, he's got swing and miss. What high schooler doesn't have swing and miss? He's 18. He's not going to be in the big leagues tomorrow. So you're taking him based on the raw potential. And it's this raw piece of clay that the Rockies now are going to help mold a little bit more. He's a little further along than other prospects maybe they've drafted, like a Zach Veen or a Benny Montgomery. He's got a further along. He's got that system behind him with Matt Holliday. He's got Jackson. He's got the Holliday family. He's got that background with him. So at this point, it's just be patient, give him his time, and just root for him to do his thing.
Yeah, I think the keyword is raw. He's 18 years old. He's never seen crazy, big league or minor league or even college pitchers. He's a high school player, but he is still, even if raw, the best raw left-handed power bat in this entire draft.
Yeah.
Mark Gustafson of the Rockies described his raw power as stupid, which I think tells you a lot about how this organization views him. But it's not just his power. He can hit for average. He's got solid speed. He's got a decent glove. He's got a good arm. He's got pretty much everything in terms of a raw skill set. Greenfield's our first chatter of the day. Welcome, says, if the Rockies mess up Holiday, or if Holiday is a bust, they will never live it down. And yeah, honestly, that's true. You can say that about a lot of first-round picks, especially early in the draft, your top 10 overalls. But this one for the Rockies especially is a you cannot screw this up kind of pick. They have got to make sure that this kid develops properly and becomes honestly, his ceiling is superstar, and they want to meet his ceiling.
Yeah, and we talked about this before where this is a pivotal pick because you can't pick higher than 10th next year. You need to start hitting on some of these high draft picks that you've gotten these last couple of years in a Charlie Condon, and whatnot. So Holiday, this is a huge one. You can't bust on this one. You can't fail.
And it's even worse is even if he wasn't like the 1-1 potential not consensus, but likely 1-1 pick, even if he wasn't the top rated prospect in this year's class, you've got the name pedigree now. Mm-hmm. This would be like if Arch Manning, who's about to be the starting quarterback for the Texas Longhorns this coming season, completely flamed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's something went horribly wrong there, and it's not something that an organization is going to be able to live down.
Yeah. And kind of the last thing to round out here on Ethan Holiday, a little bit, just hearing the interviews with him, I think the nice thing is that he's all in. This kid lives and breathes. He bleeds baseball. And it helps too that he grew up around the Rockies. And so he has that connection. It's in his blood. I liked him saying, no, this is a dream come true, where of course players are going to say that when they get drafted, but he can actually mean it where it's a dream because he watched his dad play for the Rockies. He was on the field, he has that opportunity now to follow in those footsteps, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. Yeah. And so you just trust that he's going to have the support system and the wherewithal to deal with the expectations, maybe some of that pressure that's going to naturally come with where he is in the draft, the pedigree, and the hype around him. But he seems like a kid with, just like his dad, which is nice. He's been raised up right by his parents, where he's got that good head on his shoulders where he can deal with all this and just love the game.
He's very quietly cool, like Matt. Like Matt Holliday was never this super loud, boisterous player, but man, he was cool and kept a cool head on his shoulders. And Ethan Holiday said in an interview with MLB Network, if the hardest thing in my life is expectations and pressure, then I'm going to wake up super grateful every single day.
Yeah. It's a good kid, so
he's got the pressure.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's eager to play, and he's like, hey, I'm ready to go. I want to play games. Like, I'm ready to make a debut this year. So we'll see if he does. If he gets up to Fresno, that's where I'd assume he'll go. If he doesn't end up making a debut, otherwise he'll probably be down in the complex instructional league and whatnot. But he's eager, and I'm sure all of us are to have Ethan Holiday.
I'm so excited to watch him. You watch him when you watch some of his high school footage, and he is just such a dynamic player.
And it is now our podcast goal to get Ethan Holiday for a rooftop mingle.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one, but I accept that challenge.
Yeah, we'll get it out there. We'll do our best. But so pretty hyped first overall pick for the Rockies, first pick for the Rockies. But then they go now for round 2. They pick up a right-handed pitcher from Southern Mississippi, J.B. Middleton. A right-handed pitcher, 21 years old, 6 feet, 178. Evan, give us a quick lowdown here on J.B. Middleton.
I really, really like this pick. He is 21 years old. He's 6 foot tall, so he's not a huge bodied guy, but it's the athleticism and the durability. He's got a consistent delivery. He's got really good control. He pounds the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
He in 2025, in his last season here with Southern Miss, 2.31 ERA and 16 starts, 122 strikeouts to just 25 walks. He reduced his walk totals every year. He's got great command. He had the second best whip in all of NCAA baseball last year and had the 6th most total strikeouts. I love his pitch mix. He's bolstered by his fastball. They graded at 60. I'd probably put it more at a 55, but it's a lively mid-90s offering that he can get both rise or sink on. Tops out at 97, but he uses it to generate swing and misses because it's just such a dynamic fastball. And he pairs that with a slider in the high 80s that the Rockies org describes as being a wipeout slider and a pretty well-developed changeup in the mid to high 80s. He'll probably need to add a 4th pitch at some point, but right now, he's got such a good mix. The Rockies, Mark Gustafson especially praised his elite metrics, his elite competitiveness, his athleticism, and his durability. He is seen as a rotation piece. You know, a lot of pitchers that you draft, you think, oh, well, they might end up in the bullpen at some point. They want this guy as a potential rotation piece for the future. They're somewhat older comparisons, which is a very Rockies way of doing things. I laughed that the organization's best comp for him was a guy who retired over a decade ago, but they compared him to Tim Hudson and to Roy Oswalt, one of which former Rocky. But overall, really, really, really like this guy. And he's up for the challenge, too.
Yeah, and I like seeing him. It was... I think it was over the MLB pipeline, like Jim Callis. So, he had the 3 pitch mix and the savvy to go higher if he wasn't 6 feet tall. So, I guess he's a short king in the eyes of baseball, and that has probably scared away some folks. But as we've seen, height at the end of the day shouldn't really matter as a pitcher. Like, it gives you an advantage, sure, but a young scrappy guy. He's figured out how to do it. We saw Tyler Chatwood be quite successful with the Rockies in some seasons. And Marcus Stroman, you don't have to be a giant monstrosity Randy Johnson to be successful. So I think the thing that I've noticed with Middleton and a lot of other pitchers that we'll mention is just an ability to throw strikes. Guys that can command their pitches and throw strikes.
Yeah.
And hey, when you're a team that doesn't strike out many guys and you walk way too many, hey, that's a good combo that you're going to look for in this draft.
Yeah, and it's the combination of, with that pitch mix and pounding the strike zone of, it does seem like the Rockies have realized that's something they need to improve on. A lot of the pitchers that they have drafted have had elite strikeout stuff. I think about Chase Dolander in Tennessee, Sean Sullivan from Wake Forest, some of the other guys they've got in this organization where we are seeing much more in terms of strikeout stuff than we have from rotational offerings recently, especially on the big league club. And for JB Middleton, I think this is a great pick. It's potentially a little maybe under slot value, at least a little bit, but overall, I'm a huge fan. This is probably one of my favorite day one picks that's not Ethan Holiday.
It's kind of reminiscent of when the Rockies picked up Brody Breck last year. A guy with just a lot of high potential as a starter, and it's good to see him. being a little bit more savvy with the type of pitcher maybe they went with, of a guy that can pitch. This isn't just a thrower. No, this isn't a guy we're going to have to try and teach how to pitch. It's somebody who already knows how to do that. And nice little pick. Comparisons to Roy Oswalt, Tim Hudson, some solid pitchers in their careers.
Yeah, those are some good guys to be compared to.
Yeah, so nice gritty, just bulldogs on the mound. Hopefully it's not 2014 Roy Oswalt, but we'll go with Houston Astros Roy Oswalt.
The Roy Oswalt that won that tractor or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing I really liked that Middleton said was, you just really don't know what's going to happen, but I had it in the back of my mind. He said about being drafted by the Rockies. After my meeting with them at the Combine, I knew that's a place I would love to be. When I got the call yesterday, it all worked out. I want to pitch there and make a career of it. And you know how the Rockies love their guys that want to be there. But it's also nice to see a young man who is like, yeah, I'll take the challenge. Let's see what I can do.
Yeah.
Because players know from high school and college and probably even younger, pitching at altitude is really hard.
Yeah.
And for a guy who embraces that challenge and says, well, let's make a career of it then, is really fun. And I hope it is a very lengthy career.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, like, okay, he doesn't have to be the ace. No, we're not setting the just to be a good, solid contributor. He could evolve into that. Who knows? But a worst case scenario, maybe he's just a really good back end 3, 4, 5 starter. Hey, that's perfectly fine too. You need those guys too.
He's like a lot of pitchers that you draft this high. There's ace potential there, and he's got some accolades. He was all Sun Belt. He was a Golden Spikes and Dick Hauser Award semifinalist and a first team All-American. And so he's got, ace potential, but even if he's a number 2 guy, a number 3 guy, like you said, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're good to see him. Nice little pickup there for the Rockies in the second round. JB Middleton, first pitcher of the day taken for the Rockies, and one of the few that they seem to view as a starter. So that was kind of an interesting thing that we'll get into as we move along. But we now move, Evan, to the competitive balance round B, or at the 74th pick from. This is a well they have gone into quite often as of late. Evan, over the last couple of years, from the Texas Longhorns, picking up an outfielder, Max Bellew. Did I say it right?
I think it's pronounced Bellew.
Ooh, even better.
That's how I've heard it be said. But
Max Bellew.
But honestly,
bare necessities.
There are worse things to have than having a pipeline to a pretty solid baseball program in the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, not too shabby at all. But yeah, outfielder from Texas, 6'2", 215, bats left, throws right. Did deal with a bit of a thumb injury this year that kind of hampered his bat a little bit, but it did not deter the Rockies. As before the thumb injury, dude was still balling there in Texas under the tutelage of one Troy Tulowitzki, who a friend of the show, Jared Thomas, has told us plenty about. And now I'm sure he's celebrating wherever he is of, all right, another Longhorn joining us in the organization.
The Rockies said in their post-draft presser about Max Bellew, they said Jared Thomas is indeed pretty excited. Friend of the show, JT, Max Bellew is apparently one of his boys. And it's also really cool to see. I won't harp on this too much, but the Rockies acknowledged that they talked to Troy Tulowitzki about this. And I know that, that's Tulo being professional because he's a member of the University of Texas staff. But this is a guy who pretty recently said that he doesn't even want to comment on this organization.
Yeah.
And said that he would have nothing to do with us for the rest of his life, basically. And Mark Gustafson said, we talk to Tulo often, and we know what this player is all about. We know he's built right. We know he's made right. We know he has the swing that has the characteristics. The thumb injury was a tough injury for the ball club at Texas, but we never wavered with it. They've apparently been interested in him since last summer, which was when they drafted Jared Thomas. And despite losing significant time due to that thumb fracture that he needed to get surgery on. Last season, he still hit 303, 410, 476 with 9 home runs and 29 ribbies. He finishes his career at the University of Texas with 27 home runs. And the big thing for him is he's not just a power bat. His power bat is great, but he can also hit for average, and he spreads the ball really well. Part of that is because he's got a good, quick left-handed swing. He's got quick, strong hands, which you always want to see in a batter. And the pick I think is going to be pretty underrated, and someone who agrees with me here is actually Dan O'Dowd, former Rockies general manager. He was singing the praises of Max on MLB Network when they drafted him. He called him a plus right fielder with a plus arm, a field to hit with power, a stud athlete with power at all ballparks, and a rocket for an arm. And that is that second part especially. He's got a very strong, accurate throwing arm. So while he doesn't really have the speed or some of the route running abilities to play center field or left field, he's going to be right at home in right field where he can put that strong arm to use.
Yeah. And the Rockies love their outfielders. And so let's throw another guy into the mix, which should be fun. And just like Greenfield's mentioned again, connection to Jared Thomas and Tulowitzki is very promising. And just, we've talked to Jared a couple of times, and just singing the praises, just the program that Texas has, and the influence that Tulowitzki has had on Jared Thomas and just the guys that have played there. You get a lot of confidence out of who's coming out of that school, that program, and it's exciting. And Jared Thomas is having a heck of a year. Has been a really good ball player. We know the kind of player Tulowitzki was and what he's teaching. So Max, you have no doubt that, he can follow suit. Same type of thing. And keep adding in these outfielders. Who knows who will pan out and everything. But he fits that a nice mold type in there.
Probably the only major knock on Blue is, he struggles with breaking pitches like a whole lot of players do.
Who doesn't?
That's something that the Rockies, hopefully will be able to help him with. But if you give him a fastball he likes, as Mark Gustafson said, he has serious juice.
I don't like that. I don't like that phrase.
Serious juice.
It's almost as bad when I mention loins, according to Dick Monfort. Yeah, a nice solid pick. I'll never be mad about a nice solid hitting outfielder. It's a good solid pick to get in the competitive balance. The Rockies have had a lot of success in those types of rounds, in the competitive balance rounds. And I think he is one of the guys that maybe leans a little bit more into the power potential, but can still have a really good hit for average. Get bat to ball, which is something they love and something they've lacking. And we'll tie into it more with this next guy some of the guys that we start getting into with the other hitters, guys that have got some pretty good contact abilities. Yeah. And in a sense, with Ethan Hedges from Southern California, 6'1", 185, right-handed hitter. I believe mostly a corner infielder for the most part in general. But Ethan Hedges, Evan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. The Rockies have really focused on in this draft, and a lot of the guys we were going to talk about, the focus has been bat-to-ball skills, not striking out that much, good pitch recognition, getting the ball into play. And, the bat-to-ball skills for both Ethan Holiday and Max Ballou are both pluses, but Ethan Hedges, the third baseman out of USC, is really the epitome of that, because he has been a very solid hitter over his career at USC, but last season was really his breakout year, a bit of a late bloomer. He hit 346, on-base percentage of 462, and slugged 619, 11 doubles, 5 triples, 14 home runs, 58 ribbies, and some speed to boot, a perfect 10 for 10 with stolen bases, and drew 44 walks to 50 strikeouts. His big thing is that his tools are hit before power. And he may develop into some power. The Rockies think that he might be able to do that. But right now, he gets the barrel to the ball, but it more results in stinging liners than home runs. And he can hit home runs, as we've seen this year, this past season, where he hit 14. But the Rockies think he'll be able to generate more pop in his career because he's got really good contact skills and body control at the plate.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a heck of a lot worse you could do than a guy who is just able to make consistent contact and put the ball into play. And while he may not have tapped into everything he's got in that bat yet, there's already a really good skill set there.
Yeah, and just looking at him and stats and things said about him, is it fair to compare him to Kyle Karros in a sense? A really good defensive third baseman who's developing some power still, but has really gotten a good hit tool of making getting contact. Is that a fair comp?
I can see Karros having a little bit more raw power than Hedges, but I think it's a pretty solid comparison.
Like how Karros, as we drafted him and what he's developed into, I feel that same type of progression for Ethan Hedges.
Yeah, both from California schools.
There you go.
Though Ethan Hedges, just of note, is from Mater D High School in California, which is the same high school that produced current Rockies third baseman Ryan McMahon.
And Ryan McMahon was also, where was he going to go play in college?
I don't remember, honestly.
I don't know. Yeah, but
I think it might have been USC, actually. I think he might have had a commitment to USC.
Did we just get the reincarnation of Ryan McMahon? But something that I really feel like, and like I just alluded to, that Ethan Hedges kind of marked more of a trend with whatever other hitters the Rockies did pick up, is that guys with really good hit tool, bat to ball skills can make contact. So and Thomas Harding wrote about this, the team made a concerted effort to pick up guys that are a little bit more contact oriented, as opposed to a trend they've had in the past of guys with like raw power potential who can really mash. And it's gotten them into trouble because look at the big league roster now of guys that they selected. What was their main skill? Oh, it was hitting dingers. Oh, never mind. Michael Toglia is leading the league in strikeout percentage.
Yeah, the big thing has been these more patient plate approaches, drawing a lot of walks in addition to that, and believing that the power will come with more contact versus just swing out of your shoes and try and launch it. This is the kind of approach we've seen with Ryan Ritter, where currently the Rockies shortstop, where he says, like, I'm not focusing on hitting home runs. I'm focusing on just getting to the barrel of the ball and having a good at bat, and a home run is a bonus. And I feel like that's an approach that they've really taken to heart with a lot of their guys here.
Yeah, it's big. So Ethan Hedges, not the flashiest one, but he's got a lot of that potential in there, and hopefully that contact can then translate, and the power does come along even more and more consistently. Because then a good defensive glove, strong arm, there's a lot to like there. And hey, Evan, I know they only view him as a third baseman, infielder type. Do you think he'll ever get a chance to pitch?
Probably not. The Rockies really haven't pushed for any sort of two-way players, but it is worth noting that he was a semifinalist for the John Olerud Two-Way Player of the Year Award in 2025. As a pretty solid reliever out of the USC bullpen. Made 15 appearances for 15 innings, posted a 2.40 ERA with 9 saves. It was a 4-seam fastball, a changeup, and a slider. Like, that's a pretty well-developed reliever, in addition to being a pretty skilled defensive third baseman. Good instincts at third, good agility, good arm. Like, he's going to make that glove work, and he's played all over the field throughout most of his college career. He's played at pretty much every position. He's played all the infield positions. He's played in the outfield, but third base is where he's at best. And the Rockies do view him as this is a third baseman going forward, not a two-way player.
Yeah, but hey, a nice solid pick there in the third round. That rounded out day one. Oh my gosh, Evan, it's taken us 35 minutes to get through 3 picks.
Well, these are
we'll get a little quicker as we go.
These are the big picks. Once we're out of the top 10 for the Rockies picks, things will go a lot faster just because there's not as much information. And I'm going to be real. I've sat down and started assembling sort of a dossier on most of these players that we drafted, but I only have so much free time, and I've only made it through our first 11 picks.
And most everybody in the later half of day two, it's a lot of relievers. But we'll get to everybody. But as we move along here to the fourth round, a right-handed pitcher from UC Irvine, right-hander Riley Kelly, 6'5". He's a big boy, 215 right-hander. Evan, not too shabby for a guy that, kind of reminiscent of a guy we've already mentioned before, Brody Brecht, of that football pedigree, quality quarterback in high school, but then switches to baseball and is dominant in college. Had a pretty good college career.
Yeah. Before I get started, I will give you one guess as to what the mascot of UC Irvine is.
The Superman.
It is not the Superman.
Oh,
it is
the
Anteaters, the UC Irvine Anteaters, which is fun. I feel like the Anteaters are underrepresented in terms of mascots. But yeah, Riley Kelly, this is another, I think, really quality pitcher pick from the Rockies this draft, especially in the first 5 picks. He was the full-time starting quarterback in high school for 3 years, and then his senior year decided that he was going to switch his commitment to baseball full-time and saw a lot of improvement, especially with his fastball. He got much more out of it. But his first 2 seasons, he got hurt. He dealt with injuries. He was coming out of the bullpen and not really doing that great. And then 2025 was sort of his breakout year, where he came roaring onto the scene because they switched him into the rotation. And all of a sudden, he was doing really well, honestly. 3.78 ERA in 17 appearances. 12 of those were starts. 70 strikeouts, 32 walks over 66 and 2/3 innings. The big pitch of his repertoire is a curveball that's an 11-5. You know the 12-5 curveball. They're calling this 11-5 with rotation generally over 3,000 revolutions per minute and velocity in the upper 70s. This is a pitch that he uses to make people look very foolish. And he combines that with a four-seam fastball in the low 90s, but it does top out at 96, and there are some people who think that with work, he could maybe regularly get that to around 95. And he rounds it all out with a solid changeup in the low 80s. He's, like you said, he's a big boy, very athletic. He's 6'5", 215 pounds, so lean for his height currently, though will probably fill out a little bit more as he gets older, as people tend to do. Has previously been drafted before. He was a 20th round pick by the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2022, but turned that down to go to UC Irvine. And his command is not all there. It's very inconsistent, but it has been getting better since he started his college career, and even better since he got into the rotation at UC Irvine. He was all Big West second team, and overall pretty good.
Yeah, and it looks like he was the Rockies. He was the number 1 player on their board after day 1, and he's still there at the start of round 4, and they're like, all right, let's pick him up. And so, one of those nice, solid relievers. There's quite a few guys that fit his mold in the system, and so it's just adding another solid arm, and hope that command can, he can rein that in a little bit more, and really tap into all the other nice, effective pitches that he's got, and just really play into his size and everything on the mound. Like, this is one of those starters. I don't know how you describe it, but you know the type of starter when you look at him. Just one of those guys that goes out and it just grinds. He'll get you 5-6 innings. No, it may not be the crispest start, but he can go out there and eat up 6 innings, 3 runs or less, give you a quality start, and you'll take it. Get you 5-6 strikeouts in the game, couple walks, like a nice, solid back end type of guy. And hey, you'll take that on a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, for your 5th pick of the draft, for your first day 2 pick, a guy that could solidly be a mid to back end of rotation guy is, I think, a really good pick. I think his curveball is fascinating, and I'm really excited to see that in action.
Yeah, if he kind of like rounds out, if anything, into like what late John Gray was doing in those last couple years with the Rockies were, yeah, he's not the ace, but still a really solid pitcher that'll go out and grind through 5-6 innings. You'll take that. That's not too bad at all.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Riley Kelly, 4th round pick. Good stuff there. Moving on to the 5th round from Corey Sullivan's alma mater over at Wake Forest. Cam Nelson, an outfielder, taken in the 5th round, 21 years old, 5'11", another one of our short kings. 185 pounds, left-handed hitter, also throws left-handed. A nice, speedy outfielder to add into the mix for the Rockies. And again, another guy with, despite losing a bit of time from injury, a really high-quality contact type of guy at the plate.
Yeah, this was one of the first picks, I think, of the Rockies draft where people were a little confused by it because he was not ranked in the top 250 per MLB pipeline. And that's, when you're still in the guys who are generally ranked, it's a little bit weird. But the Rockies have sort of gone out of their way to pick these guys before, guys that they see as having tremendous upside,
and save a little
not
cash.
being as well known. Sorry, what'd you say?
And save them maybe a little bit of cash.
But Cam Nelson was a sophomore at Wake Forest, despite being 21 years old. Did miss some time due to injuries, but still ended the season hitting .318, .489, .485, 9 stolen bases, 2 doubles, and 2 triples. I think one of the biggest things for me is that he finished his career overall with Wake Forest with more walks than strikeouts. Good patient plate approach and bat to ball skills like the Rockies really liked in this draft. And his contact stuff, his skills played well in collegiate wood bat leagues in the summer as well, and that's something that the Rockies are pretty high on. But the big thing for Cam Nelson is that he is quick. He was a track athlete in high school. He is very fast in the outfield. He's a good center fielder with a good arm and just great rangy speed.
Yeah, and he fits something that we already mentioned where a guy with bat to ball skills. The Rockies are valuing those guys in this draft more often than not. But we need more bat to ball skills and strike zone discipline. We're striking out too much. We're hunting home runs and we're not getting them. So let's put the ball in play and take advantage of the ballpark we play in that rewards hits and contact more than any other ballpark.
Yeah.
Cam Nelson fits that mold.
We've seen speedy players, guys like Charlie Blackmon, who can just be absolute triples kings in addition to hitting the home runs where is needed. And that's the thing. It's like the home runs will come with contact. You're occasionally going to get a home run if you're making consistent good contact. But I think what really speaks to it is what the Wake Forest head coach Tom Walter said about this kid. Goes, I have no doubt Cam would have been an all-conference player for us next year, and we hate to lose him. But Colorado gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. He's a plus defender with a plus arm and a plus run tool. If his bat continues to develop, he will be a fast mover through the Rockies organization. It's always nice to get the vote of confidence from your head coach.
Yeah, no, even a type of guy where, if he's not a starting outfielder, this feels like a type of guy who would be your 4th outfielder. Into that mix, can play, be a speedy outfielder at all 3 positions, could be a backup center fielder. You need guys like that. The Rockies have seen that. It's kind of the role Mickey Moniak has filled this year. Where, if he could just be like Mickey Moniak with maybe some better on-base abilities, that's great.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what you need.
And the ability to draw walks is there.
Yeah. Late in the game, hey, we're not just going to use you as a pinch hitter or a pinch runner. We're going to use you as the pinch hitter because we know you can get on base. Then you swipe second. Oh, the guy behind now has singled you in and, okay, tie ball game type of thing, or we've won. So, yeah, a lot of upside with him. Maybe scratches your head a little, but hey, that's a good sneaky, that's a solid 5th round pick.
Yeah.
There's not really anything to complain about it.
I don't mind that pick at all.
Not one bit. Anyways, moving on to the 6th round, Rockies take their first catcher of the day. The first catch of the day. Anybody get the reference? Anybody?
Like you know anything about fishing.
Oh, it's Star Wars.
It's a reference with another reference.
Oh, but Matt Klein, I believe that's how you say his name. Matt Klein from Louisville, or Louisville if you're a weirdo. 21, age 21, 6'2", 210.
Or if you live in Colorado, where we have a
Yeah.
Louisville, Colorado.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Left-handed hitting, right-handed catcher. Not too but first catcher of the day. This is one where it always seems interesting what the Rockies do with catchers, and this is a guy who fits into that mold of their current catcher, Hunter Goodman, of maybe a little bit more bat first type of player.
Yeah, and he's not a bad catcher. He can profile as an above average defender. He receives and frames pitches very well. He only had 2 pass balls in the 2025 season, and he's got a very accurate arm behind the plate. The main issue for him is an issue that we've seen with some other Rockies catchers, honestly, which is the arm is accurate but not that strong. Mm-hmm. So he can have some issues controlling the running game, but his general behind the plate defense and his ability to receive and frame, even the high heat stuff from the main starters in Louisville was really, really praised by him. In addition to that, he got a lot of praise for his leadership. One of the team leaders. He's a kid from Louisville. He went to high school in Louisville. He always wanted to go to college at Louisville, and he took Louisville into the College World Series this year, and that was a pretty big deal for him and for his teammates. One of the pitchers that he received for said he's been doing this for a while and knows how to control the game. Obviously, his bat is a huge part of this team, and having him back is great. And his bat has been really good, and this is despite missing significant time over 3 seasons with multiple injuries. He got hit by a pitch which broke his arm here in 2025, but still hit 310, 431, 509 in 2025 through 33 games. Ended with a on-base percentage at Louisville of 413, and he's also shown that he can tap into his power in wood bat leagues. In 2024, he hit 375, 397, 417 with 1 home run and 11 ribbies in a collegiate summer wood bat league. The problems with him, while he does make consistent contact and he has great bat-to-ball skills, he rarely misses on fastballs. He doesn't chase a whole lot. The problem is his swing does need a little bit of tweaking because he does not generate high launch angles, which saps some of the power that he does naturally have and causes him to hit some more into ground balls. So that's something that the Rockies are going to need to work on with him, because hitting the ball and getting the ball in play is great. Hitting the ball into a double play, not so much.
Yeah. So yeah, a catcher that needs a good hitting machine, good contact machine, just some things to work on still. And a different mold of catcher than they took last year with Cole Messina, who's a pretty good power bat. Catchers come in all shapes and sizes, so they went with the more contact approached one who, like all catchers, has some things to work on behind the dish.
I think it's really interesting that with their catchers, especially, the Rockies have prioritized leadership skills. Mm-hmm. Last year, we saw that with both Cole Messina and Alan Espinal, both of whom were praised in college for their ability to lead, both behind the plate and on the field. We're seeing the same again with Matt Klein, who's also been praised for being very, very smart, very intelligent. He graduated in just 3 years with his degree. And I think that's really interesting where, your catcher is sometimes your captain, your field general. You look at guys like Sal Perez in Kansas City. He's the team captain there. He's the leader. And I think that's something the Rockies have really started looking at recently with catchers.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's important. They're the captains of the field. I mean, yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, that's Matt Klein there in the 6th round. On to the 7th. We'll maybe start ratcheting up the speed a little bit here. I'm going to butcher his name.
It is Antoine Jean.
Antoine Jean.
And he is from Montreal, Quebec.
Ah, there you go. Those French Canadians.
He is indeed a French Canadian.
24-year-old left-hander from Houston. Played at Houston. 6'2", 190. Throws left. Bats right. If anybody's interested in that.
Yeah, I bet his batting's going to be huge. Now, Antoine Jean is interesting. He's the oldest guy the Rockies drafted this year. He's not quite 24, but he will be in like 2 weeks. August 1st is his birthday. So he's right there. Was mostly a starter at the University of Alabama before having Tommy John surgery in 2023, missed that entire season. But he had a 3.51 career ERA at Bama before that. Kind of struggled as he was finding himself mostly out of the excuse me, working out of the rotation and the bullpen in 2024, but had kind of a bloated ERA. But he's, recovery from Tommy John and trying to find himself. And the big thing this year has been him coming out of the bullpen, but mostly as a long reliever, working often 3 to 4 innings. And his pitching coach basically said, "This is not a demotion. This is a promotion. I view you as my best pitcher, and I want to be able to call on you whenever I need you versus just on starting days," which is really interesting. He had a 2.55 ERA, 21 appearances in 2025, struck out 110 to just 20 walks in 67 innings. He's got a very good repeatable delivery. He attacks the strike zone. His accolades last year, he led all of Division I schools in opposing batting average, keeping opposing hitters to just 168, and at the second highest strikeouts per 9 rate at 14.8. He made some mechanical tweaks last year, including changing where he places his thumb when he throws his fastball and lengthening his stride. Some of these changes he's also applied to his other pitches, which has given him a pretty good fastball curveball tandem. His fastball is pretty inconsistent in terms of speed, ranges between 90 and 94, can top out at 96, but it's got good carry and arm side run that helps generate chases, swings, and misses, and he combines that with a solid upper 70s curveball that had the second best whiff rate on curveballs in all of D1 schools last year at 56.5%. He's also got a changeup, kind of a work in progress.
There you go. I think we've covered it all.
A lot. That pitching coach I mentioned, Woody Williams, said, "I asked scouts, you've seen him start. If he's coming out of the bullpen, does it diminish anything you think about him?" And they said, absolutely not. Antoine will get his name called, and he's going to get it called early. So many scouts have asked me about him, and some of those scouts were with the Colorado Rockies, who liked what they saw from him and see him as potentially closer to big league ready than most, especially due to his advanced age and skill set.
There you go. Yeah. Antoine Jean. 24601. Hopefully that's never is going to be his ERA, but
it's a big ERA.
A 2.4.
Yeah. I'd take a 2.4601 ERA.
Yeah, that'd be very good. But yeah, moving on to the next one here as we move on to the 8th round. Taking a first baseman, a slugging first baseman, if you will. Again, I'm probably going to butcher this. Tanner Thatch?
I've been saying Thatch.
Thack?
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 Either way, big-bodied first baseman from University of North Carolina at Wilmington.
There you go.
And this is another guy who I really like this pick, even though it's sort of your stereotypical big slugging first baseman pick. I think it's a lot of fun.
But you know what, Evan? When it comes to that, the Rockies don't have many of those. So it's okay to pick it's okay to go with the stereotype here of a big slugging left-handed first baseman, because this is a system devoid of many first base options, like prototypical first base options. There's guys they've thrown there, but it's like, honestly, it's Aiden Longwell's your truest first baseman in this minor league system right now.
And he still should be promoted, I think. I think he should already be in Double-A, but that's just me. But yeah, Tanner Thatch is a solid defender at first base. He's not your Michael Toglia. He's not a plus defender, but he is good enough when you look at his power. He became the career home run leader at UNC Wilmington with 54 in 3 seasons, including 27 in 2024. His power plays in wood bat leagues. In the Cape Cod League in 2024, he had the 3rd most with 8. And he's another one of those guys, good bat speed, good quick hands. He can spread the ball around a little bit. Like, he can go oppo, but he's mostly a pull hitter, like these kinds of power hitters tend to be. Tends to struggle a little bit against breaking pitches, but he will punish your fastballs, and he will chase, especially against some breaking pitches. But he doesn't strike out excessively. Strikeouts have never really been a huge problem for him. Ironically, also did some pitching, both in college and in summer wood bat leagues. Probably not viewed as a two-way player. His fastball sits in the low 90s, and his other pitch is a low 80s slider. But one of the reasons why he committed to UNC Wilmington was that they were also going to let him pitch in addition to being their first baseman. He was drafted by the San Francisco Giants in the 18th round of the 2022 draft, but declined because he wanted to play for UNC Wilmington, which he had decided he wanted to do when he was 15. And he went and he honored that commitment, set a bunch of school records for them, and now he is here.
And hey, we talk about Ethan Holiday's pedigree. What about Tanner Thatch's, where he's the great nephew of Hall of Fame pitcher Catfish Hunter?
Yeah, baseball runs in the blood. Apparently, pretty much everybody in this guy's family who has played baseball or softball or something. I was reading about his dad played baseball, his brother plays baseball. You know, he is like you said, the great nephew of the great Catfish Hunter. It's a fun pick. The biggest downside is that speed-wise, he is a statue. He has one of the lowest rated run tools I've seen in a while at just 20. He's not the worst. Like he is athletic, but he is not going to set any base stealing or speed records.
Takes him a little bit of time to get revved up, Evan.
He's got to get the engines warmed up.
6'4", 225 pounds. You try lumbering like that down the baseball field. He'll hopefully have the Jason Giambi special of you rip it to the wall and you get your single.
Yeah. Or if it's going over the wall, you can take your time getting around the base paths.
Mm-hmm. But moving on here to the 9th round, and Tanner Thatch, that is a pick that was pretty well applauded by pundits around that I saw as well, just because of that power tool. But moving on next to the 9th round, next guy, Zach Rogacki, a catcher outfielder from SUNY Binghamton, 21 years old, 6'1", 185, another left-handed hitting catcher outfielder, but the Rockies do view him as a catcher first, despite his ability to play pretty much most of the outfield. And kind of your Cole Carrick pick, except they're going to view him as a catcher.
Yeah, and, not exactly surprising. Sorry, spaced out there for a second. The Rockies have been prioritizing a lot of these sort of more athletic, more versatile catchers. You've seen it with Hunter Goodman. You've seen it with Braxton Fulford. We saw it just earlier in this draft with Matt Klein, and we see that again here with Zach Rogacki, who is, pretty athletic. He has played in the outfield, corner outfield. He's played infield positions, but like you said, primarily a catcher. And Rogacki actually mentioned that post-draft, he was talking to Fox 40 in Binghamton. He said the MLB is kind of getting into the habit now of signing more athletic guys behind the plate. And so I think about that aspect of that game and my competitiveness. He mentioned the Rockies are in a stage where they want to start winning again, and I want to be a part of that. They're drafting some really awesome players. Before I was even picked, I thought the Rockies would be a great fit because I want to build their organization again, and I want to do it with all these amazing players they're drafting. That's a pretty cool thing to say for a dude
saying all the right
organization.
things.
Exactly, saying all the right things there. He was in the America East Conference. He was All Conference 2025 and All America East Championship. In 2025, he hit 361, 437, 600, 17 doubles, 4 triples, 8 home runs, 43 ribbies, stole 5 of 6 bases, and had 28 walks to 22 strikeouts. And I point that out because he finishes his collegiate career with an almost 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio. In college, he walked 88 times to 49 strikeouts.
There you go. Again, another guy, good contact bat. Gets on base. It's what you need, my friends. That is what you need. Yeah. It's a good pick in your 9th round for the Rockies. And then number 10, as then we'll probably get a little quicker in the second half of the rest of this draft. Austin Newton, right-handed pitcher from South Florida. 6'6", another big boy, 252 pounds. My goodness. Right-hander on the mound.
He's a hefty boy. When I first saw that they drafted him and I looked up a picture of him, I went, my goodness, this man is built like a truck. He's 6'6", he's just barely not 6'7", 252 pounds. Profiles just due to his body type and his pitch mix as a sort of a late innings guy. I've seen some comparisons. Our friend on Purple Row, Mario Delgado, compared him in terms of both body type and pitch profile to Lance Lynn, which is not a bad comparison at all. 3 years in South Florida, mostly coming out of the bullpen. He started the year in the rotation, but got injured during his first start, missed some time, and then when he came back, he transitioned into the bullpen, where he really started to shine. In 2025, he had 22 strikeouts and 6 walks over 22 2/3 innings. And in the Wood Bat League with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers here in 2025, he posted a .56 ERA, 10 strikeouts, and 2 walks over 16 innings. I really like his pitch mix. He's got a solid sinker in the mid-90s, gets a good strike rate on it, 69.2%, gets a lot of guys to swing at it, and induces a lot of ground ball contact. With that pitch, he carries a 60.9 ground ball rate throughout. While he was in the Wood Bat League with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. Secondary pitch is a solid slider, also used to generate ground ball contact. That one had a 73.9% ground ball rate. But what he really had working for him with the Scrappers was his changeup. Mid-80s, carried a 69.2% strike rate and a 60% chase rate, a 44.4% whiff rate, and was not put in play during his 16 innings in the Wood Bat Draft League. So overall, a pretty cool profile. He's got especially for that sinker, his release point is very high, which causes some deception. So that works well for his lower velocity on that, especially as a more late innings kind of guy, where you have a lot of flamethrowers and people throwing more heat. He instead has that deception, ground ball rates, and getting those swings and misses. He says he wants to be a coach after his playing career, which I think is cool. And he's another one of those guys who really has pushed through it. And the quote that I picked for him, he said, "I've had a lot of ups and downs, a lot of challenges over the past couple of years, but I feel like I battled through any adversity that I faced and became better for it. The path is never a straight line. It's never easy, even when things appear to be going good."
There you go. Yeah, a good. It's kind of one of the first relievers they've taken. Again, another pitcher that come in, throw strikes, and miss bats. And hey, some of this team needs more and more of. You got to hit. You got to hit the ball. You got to miss bats.
Where this is the first pitcher where there's a lot of deception in his stuff, and it's their first real dedicated reliever they've picked. Like, yes, he has and can started, but the way he profiles just tells you everything that he is going to be a reliever.
Very much so. And hey, you always need more relievers, and that's kind of the common thread throughout this second half of the draft, where the Rockies just pretty much take a lot of guys that pretty much could just be relievers in their professional career. But so we'll probably do a little bit more rapid fire here, Evan.
Yeah.
Rounds 11 through 20, because hey, we fortunately can't spend a ton of time on everybody just because there's just not enough time.
Yeah, and we'd love to, but it's also there's just a lot less information on some of these. After the quote unquote day 2 picks, the draft this round was weird. This year was weird because they compressed basically days 2 and 3 all into one day. So we had rounds 4 through 20 on the second day of the draft, and there's just less time to compile information on these guys and less information available, but still some quality picks.
Yeah, and also shout out to our old good buddy Thomas Harding, who at least gets some quick little recaps on everybody over there. But in the 11th round, they take another right-hander from the University of Georgia. Go Bulldogs. In the 11th round, Zach Harris, right-handed pitcher. Pretty much Evan, he started the year. They're like, hey, we need you to pitch on opening day to start. Did really good. And then he ended up finishing the season as the closer for the Bulldogs. So a versatile arm, but probably is more of a reliever.
Yeah, he's going to be a mid to late innings guy. Big improvement from his 2024 to 2025 with Georgia. He went from a 6.87 to a 4.55 ERA. Way less walks, a decent number of strikeouts, 31 strikeouts to 9 walks in 2025. That's a pretty solid, 10.1 K9 rate. And then he went into, and I think this is one of the reasons that helped his draft stock a lot. He played in the Cape Cod League this summer here. In 4 appearances, he only gave up 1 earned run and struck out 7 batters. He did walk 4, so the command was a little bit less there, but overall a pretty good performance.
Yeah, and you won't worry about that when during the school year, 31 strikeouts against 9 walks in 27 innings. Yeah, it'll come and go at times. Yeah, a nice solid reliever from University of Georgia. I wonder if Charlie Condon's happy.
He's got to be. We'll have to ask him. Friend of the show, Charlie Condon, that is.
It's true.
I will never not leverage that.
He won't return my phone calls. But moving on to the 12th round, from the University of Houston, Victoria, another left-handed pitcher, Brady Parker. Interesting pitch there.
Yeah, Brady Parker is an NAIA pitcher instead of an NCAA pitcher. Went to the University of Houston, Victoria. Go Jaguars. And he's a little bit more of a project. He's got pretty good upside. He's very young for where they drafted him. He's only 20 years old. He's on average 2.3 years younger than all of his teammates and had an okay season. He made 15 starts. He made all 15 of his starts, 73 innings, struck out 77 batters, had an ERA of 4.19. Main problem there is going to be the walks. He had a walks per 9 of 6.2, issuing 50 free passes over those 73 innings of work. Could definitely stay a starter, but I could see the Rockies moving him to a relief role to try and tighten things up, get more out of his offerings.
Yeah, guy that's going to strike out a lot. He's going to walk a lot. So hopefully we'll see if he can develop the other part of that. Moving on to the 13th round from Mount San Antonio Community College in California, Isaiah Munoz.
Yeah, and an interesting pick for this guy for sure. The only JUCO pick that the Rockies picked up in this year's draft. When he was 18, he was with Cal State Fullerton. Did not have a good season. Had a 10.22 ERA in 11 appearances. He had solid strikeout stuff. He had 15 strikeouts in 12 1/3 innings, but it's just everything else was kind of tough for him. He had a really good JUCO season, 13-1 with a 1.92 ERA and 126 strikeouts compared to 35 walks in 108 innings. Again, this is going to be a project guy. He's a JUCO guy, but there is stuff to like there.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, again, you never know. Like, you can't get too picky. Oh, he's from a JUCO. That's fine. Baseball's baseball, and they'll find you no matter where you are. So, a lot to like there. And again, it's a guy that pounds the zone, can pound the zone, but like you said, a little bit more of a project. On to the 14th round from the University of Nebraska.
Boo.
Luke Broderick, right-handed pitcher.
I'm only booing because Nebraska. I'm not actually booing the guy. I'm a Buffs fan. We are contractually obligated to boo the University of Nebraska. But Luke Broderick, a right-handed reliever, came to Nebraska in 2025 after pitching with Iowa Western Community College previously. He only has 1 year of NCAA experience, but a pretty good year as a late innings guy for the University of Nebraska. A 3.25 ERA in 36 innings of work, 27 total appearances, 13 saves, 43 strikeouts, and just 43 strikeouts to 22 walks. And he did have 3 home runs, which is not bad at all because that is just a 0.8 home runs per 9. overall, again, it's the kind of guy who needs to tone down the walks. Like a lot of these later inning pitchers are going to be of working on the command and the finesse. But 43 strikeouts in 36 innings is a really strong. What's the word I'm looking for? Goodness, it's good. He did a good job.
Hey, they don't call you the wordsmith for nothing.
Look, we've been talking about draft picks for an hour and 10 minutes here. The words are, I only have so many words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not much else to say. Just another reliever to add to the pile. See if you can figure some things out. You'll notice that with a lot of these later picks of pitchers, it's you can afford to take more of the projects and just see what you can do with them and get out of them. Next one from the University of Oklahoma in the 15th round, Dylan Crooks, a right-handed pitcher who is the younger brother of Jimmy Crooks, a Cardinals pick in 2022. And also, Evan, I am obligated to say, I am not a Crooks.
Haru.
Haru.
I can't do the jowl shake that you need for a good Nixon impression. I have a friend who does a fabulous Nixon impression that is based on the Futurama Nixon, the delicious taste of Charleston Chew. But Dylan Crooks is one of my favorite late round picks for the Rockies here in 2025. 2 seasons with Oklahoma, both honestly pretty good, especially his first year with Oklahoma. So he originally went to Paris JUCO in Paris, Texas, and transferred to Oklahoma, where had a pretty good debut season, 4.11 ERA in 25 appearances, struck out 20, 3 walks. He then moved into more of a leverage late innings role for Oklahoma. Finished the year with 16 saves in 26 appearances and an ERA of 1.69. His walks went up slightly. So he had 3 walks in 30.2 innings last year. This year he had 10 walks in 32 innings, but still had 23 strikeouts, a pretty solid walk to strikeout ratio, and only gave up the 1 home run, only gave up 6 total earned runs in 32 innings. That is why I am so interested. It is an admittedly small sample size, but if he can continue that work in the Rockies minor league system, I think he could be a quick riser through the ranks.
Yeah.
He's one of I think the second oldest player the Rockies drafted at 22 years old, but I think that time in junior college did him well, and he was good at Oklahoma, and that's a really exciting prospect for me.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to the 16th round, another right-handed pitcher from the University of Minnesota with the Golden Gophers. Don't you know there, eh? Seth Clausen. Another little right-handed pitcher. Not too shabby.
Yeah. Clausen, 4 years with the University of Minnesota. Go Golden Gophers. Also a couple years in some JUCO summer leagues. Really his best season was in 2024. He had a little bit of a worse season this year where he had more strikeouts, but he also had more walks. He also gave up more home runs. So his ERA from 2024 was 3.75, went up to 4.96, but he's doing some other things a little bit differently. Like I said, he's got that 12.7 strikeouts per 9 rate. So 46 strikeouts over 32 and 2/3 innings of work. He's got the strikeout stuff, just needs to dial in the command.
There you go. As Evan's slowly dropping out of frame on the video.
Oh, I was starting to lean on my
You're leaning
armrest.
further and further into the camera. In the 17th round, Rockies went with a right-handed pitcher from North Carolina State University, Derek Smith. This one was a bit more of an interesting pick. Missed most of the 2025 season because of an oblique injury with the collegiates during the collegiate season. But the Rockies, they remembered what he did with Team USA last summer, and that stuck with them. And so they decided to roll the dice. 17th round, perfectly fine. Hey, let's roll the dice and see what we can do with this kid.
Yeah, they're definitely more banking on his 2023 and 2024 seasons with Team USA at NC State and with Mankato in Minnesota, which is his home state.
Minnesota.
And that really is where they're banking on. He only pitched 3 innings in 2025. Like you said, missed a great deal of time due to that oblique injury. Still managed 8 strikeouts in those 3 innings. But you really want to look more at his 2024 season. While he did have a 4.55 ERA, 41 strikeouts over 29 and 2/3 innings, he's got that 12.4 strikeouts per nine, and he went and tried to show a little bit in Cape with Bourne in the Cape Cod League this year. His ERA is a little bit bloated, but he still flashed the strikeout stuff. Command was a little bit inconsistent. He issued 11 walks, but again, he missed almost all of the 2025 season. So you're not paying too much attention to the actual results in the Woodbat Summer League. You're paying more attention to what you think you can get out of him in his previous samples of work.
Yeah. A little bit of a dice roll, but hey, that's what the 17th round pick is for, type of thing. It's okay to roll the dice there. Moving on to the 18th round from Illinois State University. Rockies go with Tyrell Chadwick, a right-handed pitcher. Oddly enough, his father, Ray Chadwick, pitched for the Angels back in 1986. So, hey, we talk about Catfish Hunter and Matt Holliday. There's some more pedigree coming into the system with Ray Chadwick, with his son Tyrell.
Yeah, and probably my favorite name of the draft. I just think Tyrell Chadwick is a really cool name.
It's it's almost like a cooler version of Tyler Chatwood.
Tyler Chatwood was pretty cool.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, shout out to Mac, our friend over at Purple Row. He was a big Tyler Chatwood fan.
Hey, I like Chatty.
I also like Chatty, but he's not exactly
that short
the
king.
Rockies legend.
He was a short king.
Another Canadian, Tyrell Chadwick, played for Kamloops in a Woodbat Summer League up
my favorite cereal.
British Columbia. Delicious Kamloops. He also played for the Bend Elks in Bend, Oregon in 2025. But the majority of his work came at Illinois State, and he's turned in some pretty solid work for them, mostly as a starter. I don't know if the Rockies intend to keep him as a starter, honestly. Some solid strikeout stuff, but he's much more of a pitch to contact kind of pitcher. So you see a lot of high hits per nine and not that many high strikeouts per nine. Somewhat of a two-way player, actually played a bunch of different positions throughout his collegiate and Woodbat career. But I think what really helped him get drafted this year was an excellent showing in Bend in 2025 for Collegiate Summer League. 9 innings, gave up just 2 earned runs, struck out 6. Overall, pretty solid showing, and for an 18th round pick, he's the kind of guy that you'll take a risk on and go, okay, let's see what we can get out of this guy.
Yeah, and he probably would stick as a starter, just being that workhorse, eating innings, 77 and a third. And if you're a pitch to contact guy, you're better off being a starting pitcher, because you don't necessarily want that out of your bullpen, because there's too much risk involved when you're going to work an inning or so. But hey, nice little pick there in the later rounds. In the 19th round, they get another right-handed pitcher from Florida International University, Easton Marks, the 557th pick overall.
Easton Marks is the Rockies' annual Colorado draft pick. He is from Littleton, Colorado, went to Arapahoe High School, so he's from my neck of the woods originally, and originally went to college with the University of Nevada, transferred to Florida International, and really, his 2025 was his breakout year, where he had a 3.49 ERA in 14 starts with Florida International. In 67 innings, he struck out 72 batters, did walk 35. Not much of a long ball threat, only a 0.7 home runs per 9. Overall, just a really good season. And although it was his breakout season, that's, if you want your kid from Colorado, like I know the Rockies always do, you can do a heck of a lot worse for this at round 19.
Yeah. And then rounding things out, last but certainly not least, a left-handed pitcher from Augustana University, Ethan Cole, left-handed pitcher.
Yeah, from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Fun to look.
Went to school in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a small college called Augustana University, which I had never heard of before this. And I like his numbers a lot. He's had a pretty solid overall career. In 3 years with Augustana, he had a 10.9 strikeouts per nine to a 3.8 walks per nine. 57 career strikeouts. His best year was here in 2025, where he had 22 strikeouts. 66 strikeouts to 22 walks. It was 163 strikeouts in his career to 57. My eyes got uncoordinated looking at all the numbers, after all the numbers I've looked at. But in 2025 with Augustana, a 3.68 ERA, 13 appearances, 9 of those are starts. Has spent the bulk of his college career as a reliever, but recently much more time as a starter. Starting in 2024, when he played with Fond du Lac in the Summer League, he made 5 starts out of 6 appearances, and he did the same again this year in the Summer League, where all 6 of his appearances were starts. 33 and 1/3 innings of work, struck out 33 to 13 walks for a 4.32 ERA. You know, a player from a much lesser known school who put up pretty solid college numbers is pretty much the ideal way to round out the draft.
Yeah. No, but again, it's like you can just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. But hey, not a bad little pick if he sticks around and the signs and gets things started. Like, not too shabby. You can be a little back end starter down in the minors. You still need guys or reliever, and you just never know. That you could be surprised somehow. But that rounds out the draft. We got through it.
We got through it in under an hour and a half so far.
Yeah, and now we have a few minutes where we can kind of round things out, Evan, and know what stuck out to you the most from this draft. At the end of the day, when you look at all these picks and you've gone through them and looked at them, what has stuck out to you the most of just what the Rockies did?
It was a really interesting draft. I think the Rockies honestly drafted quite well. But they very clearly had a pattern of, especially in your first 10 rounds, of mostly guys who have undergone some development already. Like I said, almost all college players except for Ethan Holiday. And prioritizing, like we said, for hitters, it's bat to ball skills and solid defense. And for pitchers, it's been pounding the strike zone. And you really only start losing that sort of pound the zone mentality when you get to the later rounds. A lot of these guys who are going to be relief pitchers or smaller prospects, but they address needs in the top 10 where catching depth in the organization is not that great. First base depth in the organization is not that great. And heck, third base depth and even outfield depth is not as good as we thought it was below AA. And this fulfills all that needs, but you also get a lot of really interesting prospects who I think are going to end up in a lot of top 30 lists for the Rockies here at the end of the season and at the mid-season point. I like a lot of these picks. There really are no picks in this draft where I'm going, that's a bad pick, or I don't really know about that. I think it was a very solid draft. For a draft that was really important. Like we said, the Rockies are about to undergo a critical rebuild, hopefully. And they cannot draft in the top 10 in the first round next year. And so they made a big splashy first round pick this year, and everything else was all needs, and hopefully some guys that you can potentially sign for under slot or at slot versus having to pay over slot. Nothing super splashy, but all good picks, or at least solid picks.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I noticed too. Just the profile of players, it shows the team trying to make an effort, realizing weakness, and then trying to address it. Because it was always, we got to mash, but they have neglected contact so much in their system. Okay, now you're starting to bring it back in a little bit more, and then you want to, like you were mentioning in that first half, you want to get guys that are a little bit more refined products out of your college. It's like you don't want to waste top picks on projects. You want to get guys that, okay, we can bank on this guy no, maybe he can move quickly through the system. That's going to be great for us, where we don't have to do as much with him to help with that development along and on his pathing. And then we can take, guys in the 12th through the 20th rounds, even literally those guys, we can roll the dice a little more, because these aren't guys we're pinning all our hopes on or like putting more pressure on. We can take our time with them and just see how it pans out with them and see what works, which is a perfectly fine strategy. I think most teams do that. And so you just, it's just nice to see that they recognized weaknesses and have addressed it. This didn't feel like, necessarily like Bill Schmidt was saying, well, we're just going to take the best players and we're going to get really good players. Or it's what we're expecting, just 20 of the best players. Like, are all these 20 best players? Probably not. But they address needs and have skills that would fit the Rockies well.
Yeah. And I feel like there's not really any picks here that I would consider a drastic overreach. Like maybe JB Middleton picked a little high, maybe Ethan Hedges, but overall, I don't feel like any of these guys are like, what are you doing here? Like I said, with Cam Nelson, the upside is definitely there, and I can see why the Rockies like him, even though it did cause some confusion.
Yeah, but overall, solid draft. If you had to give it a grade, Evan, what are you giving it?
Way too early, because drafts are tricky. Like, it's going to be 5 years before you can truly tell the results of a draft in any sport. But I would give the Rockies a solid B+.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was a perfect draft. It's very hard to have a perfect draft. But this was a good, solid draft. And I really like the first 11 picks, your rounds 1 through 10 in competitive balance. I think there's a lot to like there. And some of the guys in the final 10 rounds, there's a lot to like there too. But overall, I like the draft class. I like it a lot. Yeah,
I think over on FFSN, I wrote an articles recapping the 2 days, and I think day one I gave them like an A-, and a lot of that's carried by Ethan Holiday. And then day 2 I gave him a B, and so overall it probably rounds out just like you're saying, a B+. And Holiday's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, but it's not all on his own. There's a lot of intriguing pieces throughout that you can, it's not necessarily like, oh, dude, your head over heels gonna, itching to have these guys on the big league roster. A lot of it's like, okay, these are nice, solid pieces, and hopefully they can pan out. It would be nice if this was a draft where the Rockies, like, every single guy's just hit after hit after hit, where you're like, oh my gosh, like, we're turning it around.
There's going to be some busts. There always are. There's going to be guys who don't pan out, don't work out, get traded, get released, find their footing somewhere else. That's the nature of having a 20-round draft. And frankly, I'm just thankful it's not 40 rounds anymore.
Yeah. Or back in the day where it was as long as some teams were drafting.
Wasn't Mike Piazza like a 62nd round pick or something?
Who knows? Crazy stuff. But no, I go back to that quote from, was it Rogacki that you mentioned, of like that desire to come Colorado. And I would think, we brag on the Rockies. Yes, they suck as an organization, and they've proven they're not very good on the development side of things. But then also, if you're a kid, like, you see the situation the Rockies are in, there's kind of that sense of, the way I even read that quote, like, I can be the guy to come and save this team. Like, I can help get them back. No, I want to be that guy. There's a awesome opportunity to potentially move quickly through the system if I can perform well, and really make myself stand out, because there's so much uncertainty. It's not like you're getting drafted by the Dodgers and, okay, let's see. Okay, Shohei Ohtani's ahead of me. Okay, Freddie Freeman's ahead of me. Oh, there's Mookie Betts. Okay, Will Smith is the catcher. Well, I might as well learn a different position. There's not that feeling of like, I'm bottom guy on the bottom of the totem pole. There's opportunity for rapid promotion, in this type of system if you can play well.
Yeah.
There's some urgency there of like, I can be a guy, if I perform well, I can be a guy that can help fix a baseball team and bring them a championship.
And some, like you pointed out, something we noticed doing our State of the Position series over at Purple Row is the prospect depth for a lot of position groups is not what we thought it was.
Yeah, and just no depth wise and just performance wise.
Yeah, and so you bring in this new stock of guys, and there is an opportunity for them to go, well, if no one else is going to be the guy, why can't I be the guy?
Yeah, and so there's that motivation. Like, yeah, the team stinks, and they realize, yeah, their development's not good, and hopefully, as these guys start getting into the system, that the team will take a real hard look in the offseason and figure out, okay, how can we improve this development process? Because this is our lifeblood. We can't screw up Ethan Holiday. We can't fail on this. No, this is a player who has a lot of great potential to be a face of this franchise, like you said. We can't screw it up. And so what steps are they going to take to make sure, 5 of these guys become important pieces of this team over the next couple of years? In a couple of years. Who 5 guys in this thing, who's going to be key contributors? Who's going to be the next man up? To be a depth piece. There's so much riding on it.
Well, while we close things out, Skyler, who would you say is your favorite day one pick that's not Ethan Holiday?
Oh, let's go with Max Bellew or Ballohu.
I'm torn between Max Bellew and JB Middleton. I think I'm going to go with JB Middleton. I really like his attitude. I really like his pitch mix. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. He's a guy who I want to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that works.
And I'm a big fan of what Zach Rogacki has said, coming out of SUNY Binghamton. I like I said though, there's not really a guy that I don't like on this draft board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's a lot of intriguing across the board, and it's headlined by the guy who they were going to take 1-1 if they had gotten that draft pick. They got him at 4 in Ethan Holiday.
Saves them a couple $1 million in slot bonus, and it's exactly who they wanted. Like, that first round of the draft could not have gone any better for the Rockies. I bet they were jumping. It was similar to last year where they were like, we were jumping up and down the fact that nobody had drafted Charlie Condon when our name got called. And I think it's the same for here. I think the moment the Washington Nationals selected Eli Willits, the Rockies were ecstatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it all just kind of worked out, and now they've been blessed by fortune. They cannot waste it. Do not waste the good fortune.
Yeah. And all that's left now, the deadline to sign is, I think it's either the 24th or the 28th of July. And we wait for these guys to start signing, start trickling in, and eventually start getting their minor league assignments.
Yeah, getting into action and seeing what goes from there. But overall, like, not too shabby of a draft. Nice and solid overall. And Jim Callis agrees, Evan. He listed them 4th on like the teams that had the best hauls of the draft. Rockies were in that list, so.
Yeah, and I know Ethan Holiday does a lot of heavy lifting there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'll take it. And Jim Callis is a guy whose opinion I trust on this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But
maybe we could get him on the show at some point. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on the draft in the comments, or you can be sure to follow us over on social media. Evan's got that info.
I sure do. You can follow us on pretty much any social media platform at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. It's the same thing for YouTube, where you can find the video versions of the show, where you are potentially watching this right now, as we did stream this live. Remember that you can find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on all of your favorite podcasting platforms of choice, be that Apple Podcasts or Spotify, iHeartRadio, or YouTube, at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. And thanks for listening. I know this is a long one. I'm sure you're tired of hearing us talk after an hour and 35 minutes and counting. But this is usually the longest show we do of the year, and I think it's good to go through it all. Jack, thank you for listening. We appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Evan, we never asked Bill Schmidt his thoughts.
What's funny though is I don't know if we need to ask Bill Schmidt his thoughts, because he said in the Gazette that was basically like, oh, a lot of the prep work's already been done. Everybody else has like formed into groups and gone and done meetings and things like that.
Yeah, it's like it was Mark Gustafson and like
Dan Montgomery and
Dan Montgomery, doing those evaluations and stuff. Like Bill's probably just napping in the back room. Which, hey, like that's a cushy gig.
I mean, at the same time, Bill Schmidt's never been like the worst when it comes to scouting or drafting. I've said it a million times that like I don't think the Rockies have drafted particularly badly. I think it's instead that they draft okay and then they botch the player development.
Mm-hmm. But who knows? We'll see what comes next now in the wake of the draft. And you can catch us next time on Affected by Altitude. Next episode coming out next Monday. Whatever day that is. July 21st.
Next Monday, whatever day that is. It's a Monday.
Yeah. Whichever day that is. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. And find us over at Purple Row, writing stuff. And myself over at fansfirstsportsnetwork.com. FFSN.com. It always screws me up saying that many F's. All those consonants, Evan.
FFSN.
But remember, until next time, I'm Skyler. That's Evan. Continue watching the skis. I mean, skies. Farewell.